Okay, today's number of the week is 39. 39 is the number of streams we have had thus far on our podcast.
F1 America, baby! You're telling me these guys can turn left and right?
Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to the F1 podcast here in America. I am alongside the one and only Lance Stroll fan, Natty Nathaniel Lawler.
How dare you? How dare you put that on me? I refuse. I actually deny that deeply.
Natty,
Now, what's going on?
This
What's
week
going
we're
on?
reviewing the Qatar Grand Prix.
Okay, Qatar.
And we'll give the people a little spoiler. Legend and loser of the week. My loser of the week isn't going to be Lance Stroll. He had 3 DNFs in a row so far. So I think if I bash him anymore, I might get a lawsuit coming my way from Lawrence. But so we're reframing on the Lance Stroll bashing this week.
Yeah, defamation case is likely, so we gotta lay off a little bit.
But Natty, what's been going on?
Anyways, dude, what's been going on? Frickin' dude, not a ton. Doing well. Today, man, I was just running electrical wiring all day in this house that I was working on, and it was a pain in the butt. I don't know who wired this house that I was working on before, but it was like a child went in and just drew squiggly lines for an electrical diagram, and they just put whatever in the wall that they wanted. And it was so freaking dumb. And I'm like pulling stuff out of the wall that doesn't make any sense to be there. And it was crazy. I'm kind of on a soapbox right now because electrical can be difficult sometimes, but this was just idiotic. So I have spent my whole morning and I'm late to this podcast. Sorry, Matt, because I have just been fixing electrical issues, but we're good. We're good, man. Just freaking ripping here. It's so warm in Colorado. There's
Dude, I
no
feel like that's
snow.
what happens when you just have an insane amount of houses going up in Colorado so quickly. And then you just pick one kid out of high school that has taken one electrical course. And you're like, hey, can you do this? Yeah, I can figure it out.
Gosh, dude, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what was happening here, but it was like the most asinine circuit running that I've ever seen. So thankfully it's done. I believe I fixed everything. I'll probably have to go back to this house next week and fix some more stuff. But regardless, here we are. What's going on with you?
Well, shout out Detroit Red Wings. They just beat the Avs for the first time since 2014
Boo.
at home.
Boo.
So let's go Wings.
Boo. For anyone who doesn't know, Matt's a dog at hockey. An absolute dog.
I am better than some, worse than most, I would say.
Incredible.
But yeah, speaking of hockey, I was up in Red Feather Lakes, northern Colorado area, for a pond hockey tournament. Shout out Northern Colorado Pond Hockey League.
Wait, so you're all like there's a bunch of rinks on one pond? Like, how does that work?
So essentially there's a handful of ponds. It's hosted this year was up at Beaver Meadows Resort, and
Sick.
they put 5 rinks next to each other, and it's a 3-on-3 setup with the
Whoa.
max of 5 players.
Whoa.
But they've been doing this thing for 27 years, have been a 501c3 for I think 17 plus now.
Oh yeah,
So it's
taking a little bit under the table.
Dude, it's a nonprofit. The sick part is any proceeds that they have go back to helping youth kids go play hockey because it's such an
That's sick.
expensive sport. But this tournament is super competitive, and it's also sweet the way that they do it is you have this round robin setup where you play 4 games, and then based on how you play those 4 games, you get put into one of 3 tiers. It's tier 1, which is the Beaver Cup. It's the tier you want to be in for bragging rights. Tier 2
Sick.
is good players, middle line, and then tier 3 is pond scum, just kind of the worst teams in
That's
the
me.
tournament.
That's me.
But the way they do it is in your 4 games, if you win your first game and go 1-0, you have to play another team that's 1-0. If you win your second game and you're 2-0, you have to play another team that's 2-0. and you keep playing winning teams to help figure out, okay, who's actually good versus who played a crap team.
Oh, cool.
So that's how they determine who gets into uh, the final playoffs. And
Sick.
our boy John Saplis was up
No
there.
way. Shout out John Saplis. What up?
So he was up there repping I think he's on like Loveland Fire Authority, but a couple firefighters on his team, and then picked up some CSU club hockey guys
No way.
to play on his team.
No
And
way.
they put in quite a performance and ruffled some feathers. They
Oh,
actually
sick.
knocked out the defending champions from getting into the tier 1, which shout out helped my team get into the tier 1 because we were on that cusp, and it
Oh,
came down to points for ratio.
no way.
And the team that had won it last year, they have this one guy on their team who's an absolute dog. Played at Western Michigan, a D1 hockey program, and then I don't. He didn't get drafted or play on an NHL team, but he was in the minors. So like the QHL, which for those who don't know hockey, it's minor league of hockey.
He's so good he should not be playing in this tournament.
Pretty much. But this
That's
tournament's also so
crazy.
fun that you're playing pong, drinking beer, hanging out with the boys. So it's a great time.
Oh, sick.
But his team put in performance, ended up winning it. But yeah, rogue team first time his team was in this tournament too. Uh,
Whoa.
so it was an ordeal, but dude, it was so much fun. The whole weekend was quite literally just playing pond hockey with a bunch of boys, and it's a player-run tournament, so there's no refs or anything. It's just like imagine pickup basketball. You call your own fouls. There's structure and there's rules, but you kind of call it. Um, Things have got heated, but it's just sweet. Like they provide beer, they have a bunch of kegs, and it's just you're hanging out playing pond hockey all day.
Whoa, that's sick. Dude,
But
that's a good time. Freaking love it.
that's an update on my end, brother.
Dude, nice. Well, let's get into this race. We are still looking into the past. We're still on our winter break, mid-season break. There's been a lot of news to come out. We'll maybe get to that later as far as the new car and new testing for the 2026 season. Very exciting. We're not too far away from the Australian Grand Prix, right? Isn't it like, when is it?
It's a couple weeks away.
Yeah, let me look this up because I'm kind of stoked to be.
But yeah, right now in our current state, we are getting a bunch of car liveries, which
Yeah.
livery in the term for American, it's just the show off of the new car, the new paint job. I don't know why they call it liveries. It's kind of
Yeah,
a
why is it
hyped
a
up deal.
livery?
That's
It's like a
I
British
don't know.
term
It's
or
the same
something.
way it's
Uniform,
why
the car uniform.
exactly like why do people in the UK or Europe for soccer call them kits?
I
Same.
don't know, dude. It's a paint job. Yeah. Now,
New
so
paint
that's where
jobs
we're
for the new
at.
year, new sponsors. So all of that's coming out currently. But
Yeah,
the Australian Grand Prix is how far
March
away?
7th. March
March
7th. We're about a
7th.
month away. So very stoked. I can't wait.
Dude, it's going to be so fun.
I know. I'm
Can't
just
wait for
excited
Lando
for
to
the
run it
season
back.
to be back. It's gonna be sick. So yeah, here we are. So yeah, we're looking at the Qatar Grand Prix. This is the second to last Grand Prix. To set the scene, at our last race, Vegas, there was a double DNF from McLaren. And all of a sudden Max is within striking distance points wise again. There's not a slim mathematical likelihood that Max could be within shooting distance of a title shot against Lando and Oscar Piastri a little bit more, but mostly Lando. So it's kind of, last two races, everyone's looking at those three peeps, Lando, Oscar, and Max. Yeah, tell me your initial thoughts.
Dude, it's this race is so boring just in general. There's a bunch
Yeah.
of huge things, and maybe for those who go back and watch this race, or for fans who actually do watch Formula One, this race they have essentially a mandatory two stop in Qatar, which a mandatory two stop means you have to go in the pit lane twice, and on
Which
top of that,
does that happen in any other race?
it's happened before, so it's not insanely
Did
uncommon.
they do that in Monaco this year?
They did.
Yeah.
They did.
So,
But the difference
sometimes,
here, the difference here is they were required to use 3 different sets of tires.
Okay.
So on top of that, each tire you could only use a maximum of 25 laps. And there's 57 laps in this race. So essentially that means
Whoa.
you had to swap out, like, they figured, oh, it might make for some cool strategies, it might change up the result of the race, but lo and behold, all of the Formula One strategy engineers are doing the exact same thing. So it just led to everyone doing the same exact strategy, nothing crazy happening, except for McLaren. So McLaren decided to make this race interesting because they decided to do the dumbest strategy of all time. So there's a safety car early on in the first several laps,
Yeah, I think it was
and
lap 8
lap 8. And
and it was 57 total laps.
yep,
So, I mean, yeah, for anyone doing the math, that's kind of where we land, which is lap 7 is the earliest time that you could do pit stop. And then lap 8 happens where you have Pierre Gasly, a guy kind of in the midfield, mid to later on the field, and Nico Hulkenberg are racing around a corner, and Pierre frickin' pan au chocolat, like takes his croissant, French guy, and just frickin' yeets right in to Nico Hulkenberg, who is the most unlucky driver in Formula One history. Anyways, Nico goes off the side of the road. He's freaking pirouetting around everywhere. Boom, safety car.
yep.
Lap 8. Pick it up.
And the huge thing about safety cars is that everyone is reduced to a specific speed. So they can't go racing at 100%. It's, if we're throwing percentages around, it's reduced by 50% type of deal. So it actually makes your pit stop quicker long term because you're losing less time to everyone else racing around the track.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
Essentially, in Formula One, everyone calls it a free pit stop because you're saving a ton of time. So everyone and their mother on the grid decides, okay, let's pit, even if we have to double stack 2 cars behind each other and lose a couple seconds there, it will make the rest of the race significantly easier.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone decides this is the best strategy except for the constructors champions. They decide
With both cars.
both cars. They have this stupid thing called papaya rules, which is their papaya orange color. That is, in short, if you ever hear it, it just means, hey, we're playing fair between our 2 drivers. And they hate just showing favoritism towards one or the other. That's why Australians hate Lando and UK Norris fans hate Oscar, because one of them wants preference over their race, but none of them really get it. So both McLarens stay out on track, and it's the only thing.
While literally everyone else in the field takes a pit stop. 18 other cars.
It's insane. And I, you are trying to figure out, why would you do this? Because it doesn't add any value. And in the long term, it actually ends up hurting Oscar's race.
Totally.
Subtly nullifies Lando's, but we'll talk about that later. And that's the main talking point from this race, is everyone is talking about McLaren pit stop strategy. What went wrong? Why would they do that? But Natty, before the podcast, you were telling me something insane with our ability to look back retrospectively on what this could have caused come the last race.
Dude. Well, man, well, it's kind of crazy because where we'll get to this, like where this ends up is that Lando like is fighting from the back of the pack, and at the very end, there's this whole move with Kimi, which we'll break down later. But this whole like mess up essentially like caused Max to get even closer and got him within striking distance. And maybe we even just like touch on the Kimi thing at the end.
Yeah,
Because of like that point swing. So the crazy part, wait for that, because there is like a crazy scenario that
it
should have
just
broken
caused
down by all
so
this.
much.
It was chaotic. Well, and what I don't get too, dude, is like all these teams are spending hundreds of millions of dollars per year. So like between all 10, now 11 teams, billions of dollars are being spent every year on engineering and strategy and development and cars and transportation. Like they are also getting like the best of the best strategists and operational people, like material engineers, like the people who are getting degrees that you've never heard of and couldn't even understand, like my small pea brain can understand. Like these are the smartest people in, like some of the smartest people in the world in their fields are getting pushed to this industry because there's so much money in it. And it it really blows my mind that things like this at McLaren can happen, where there was time to make a decision for both cars to come in. Every other team double stacked, like, which means that both cars come into pit at the same time. It's one of those things where like everyone who's watching is like, wait, why wouldn't you do this? And then
Yeah.
McLaren's just kind of like it's like they just all stopped being smart,
And
and
the
I don't
part
get it.
that yeah, the part that kind of made it worse is Oscar was having a phenomenal race.
Yeah,
Like
Oscar was crushing.
he was on sprint pole, he won sprint, he was on pole for qualifying. He was for any Oscar fans, they're like, "Oh my god, we have a chance at winning the drivers championship."
Yeah, it's
And
crazy.
Oscar was primed to do it. And to give Oscar credit, he is the one driver that I feel like gives Max a great look off of starts, because Max is notorious for trying to dive bomb or doing some insane moves in turn
Hmm.
one to get the lead,
Yeah,
and
no, Oscar
Oscar defends it
crushed.
so well. So,
No, Oscar feels kind of like, it is like, I don't know what the like best analogy would be, but he really is like the yin to Max's yang. It feels like more than
mhm,
anyone else on the field. I feel like Oscar versus Max, he is like anticipatory and like a very good racing counterpart. Lando feels like he reacts to Max, like Max still controls that dynamic, and Lando like does whatever he can to like try and win him out. But Oscar feels like he out maxes Max sometimes, and
yeah.
like will beat him at his own game, which is sick. So yeah, like Oscar crushed, and then McLaren frickin' screwed him.
Yeah, so it was just tough. So if you look up the Qatar Grand Prix or any other review of it, you're going to see the McLaren pit stop strategy as the most talked about, primarily because it's such a boring race otherwise.
Yeah, no, there
It's like
wasn't a lot that
nothing really
happened.
happens after the pit stop. Cheeky Fernando Alonso just plays his race, backs up the whole pack so far. Um, but yeah, it was a boring race from start to finish, aside from the strategy where you're trying to figure out, like,
Yeah,
okay, what's going to happen next?
yeah,
But
I feel like myself and like most people who were watching this race were really watching it after that pit stop, like the safety car, like kerfluffle by McLaren to see, oh, like where will McLaren, specifically Lando, end up? Because Max is winning this race. Everyone's kind of just like, okay, Max is out in the front, he's going to win. And so I was drawn in mainly just due to like the point swing to see like how bad is this going to be, because that then affects so much going into the final race um in Abu Dhabi, and to say like, okay, like how much damage will McLaren sustain going into this. And that was engaging enough for me, but yeah, typically this is a pretty boring race because there's not much that goes on.
and to be fair, with Vegas double DNF being the last race,
It's
we had
crazy.
no idea what was going to happen. That kept me tuned in of,
Yeah.
man, we could have another Latifi scenario where someone yeets it into the wall last lap,
Dude.
or whatever potential penalty. There was so much that could happen with how close the points were,
Yeah.
that it did keep me engaged in the race. But as
Uh,
far as someone coming in and hoping for an entertaining race, it just wasn't there for me.
no. Well, then let's fast forward to something we alluded to earlier. Uh, the last lap, or I guess is maybe the second to last lap, or what
Yeah,
was it? The last lap.
I think it was the second to last lap for Lando, but Oscar and Max were on the last lap.
Yeah. So basically, it was Max and then Oscar, correct? And then Kimi Antonelli, and then in fourth place was Lando.
So it was Max, Oscar,
Okay.
Carlos,
Oh yeah.
Kimi, Lando, George.
Yeah. Okay, so Lando's in fifth at this point. Had done a pretty good job of coming back through the field. Like they got dropped, and Oscar also was having a great race. But basically, it looked like as things stood, Max was going to win and have so many more points that we're going to go into the final race with a 10-point differential between Max and Lando. And then Oscar was like 20 points behind Max or behind Lando at that point. So Oscar was kind of out of it, unless Lando had a DNF in the last race, or Max did too. But basically, it was like, oh, wow, like 10 points. And then the second to last lap, as Lando is getting closer to Kimi, what happens?
So Kimi, air quotes here for all of you who are listening, runs wide
Bro
on one of the
falls asleep at the wheel.
runs wide at one of the last turns, and Norris just slips on past and takes P4 at that time. And I was laughing because in that last lap, the engineer from Max pops on and decides to tell him for whatever reason. Looks like Kimi fell asleep and just let Lando by,
Dude.
which there's a bunch of conspiracy about behind it of,
Hey, we love a good conspiracy theory.
yeah, some people are saying, well, Kimi was on old tires, was losing a lot of traction. Lando was pushing him fairly hard, had the better tires, but it looked bad.
It looked crazy. It literally looked like Kimi was just letting him go by. Like, it was a turn where people don't go wide. Like, no one was going wide there.
It wasn't a hairpin turn or anything. It was just like a nice sweeping left turn, and Kimi just runs it wide on the right side, and then Lando sweeps down the inside and then just takes it. So that led to Lando grabbing an extra 2 points,
Yeah.
which any point at this point of the season is crucial, especially
Huge.
for Lando.
And so he was then, at the end of the race, Lando finishes in 4th and is 12 points ahead of Max, which the crazy thing that we were talking about earlier is like,
Spoiler alert. Spoiler
Yes.
alert.
basically Lando won ultimately the Drivers' Championship by 2 points. And if Kimi wouldn't have gone off the freaking road like an 18-year-old and just yeeted his car out of the way for Lando, that means that Lando and Max would have actually been tied at the end of the season. But because of that move, Lando wins by 2 points. But if they were tied, Matt, this is where like the crazy, like what happens and strategy and so much controversy, and like it would have been honestly like horrible for Lando. They would have tied Max and Lando. And then you have to ask the question, okay, well, what happens when, like, what's the tiebreaker if two drivers end up after the entire season in the lead with the same amount of points? And the thing is, it goes to race wins. And
Mhm.
Max, because he won the very last race, had one more race win than Lando, and Max would have won the Drivers' Championship.
Yeah, but then you could also say, okay, would McLaren have called in Oscar and told Oscar to let Lando pass so that he could get more points? But
In
for
that
anyone,
final race, you're saying?
yeah, and anyone who knows Oscar is he could easily just say F papaya
Yeah.
and just not do it.
I kind of, yeah, I wish it would have happened just to see.
And the other reality is Oscar doesn't want I imagine Oscar doesn't want Lando to win the Drivers' Championship because it puts a clear stamp that Lando's the number one driver. So then for his career, he's looking at like, hold on, do I even let this happen? Do I just
Oh,
taint it? Or there's so much that could have happened just from this little
the slightest mistake.
so
It's
it
crazy.
was everyone was freaking out after the race at Kimi of did he make a mistake? Did he let Lando by? What
It was
actually
crazy.
happened? It was just that part was hitting chaos. And the other part, Natty, is I feel like what went so overlooked
Talk to
in
me.
the midst of the Kimi last lap and between Max, Oscar, and Lando was Carlos putting it on P3.
Dog.
And so Carlos was on P3, Albon was in P11. Last race, Carlos was in P5. Every time Carlos is finishing ahead of the Ferraris, who Ferrari essentially fired him.
Dude, yeah. It's the best revenge tour ever. That's how I feel about it. It's like he's just sticking it to him and beating him out. So it's sick. I love that Carlos is just crushing. He's such a good driver. But yeah, it was cool. It was cool to see him do really well.
Yeah, but other than that, Natty, the sad part about this race is there's not much that really happened for us to cover. It was literally just the McLaren fumbled pit stop, the Kimi turn, Carlos finishing P3, and then just gearing up for the last race of the year.
Yeah, it's races like these that make me feel like we need to add in some additional rules. Like everyone has to do at least three 360s throughout the race. Like three or like a pirouette in the middle of a lap. Like you have to complete three pirouettes, like just to keep things interesting. Or like they add like a jump to the track, like maybe a jump through like a ring of fire or something like that. Because
Dude,
these are boring races typically. It was okay this time, but you know, if FIA is looking for an American input, I'm saying add some more fire, maybe some trick mandates.
maybe some
Um,
Mickey Mouse doing some water shows.
Yeah, or like a race between the drivers at the end, like who can run the fastest.
Dude, and to give them some credit, F1's trying that they were hoping that this two-stop strategy would make it a little bit more interesting, but part of me thinks like we just got to cut out these races. Like there's so much money in them that I know that they're never going to disappear, but I'm
I
like,
know,
let's
that
just go to
Qatar
good
oil.
tracks.
Yeah, dude, with
Dude,
all this oil money, man, maybe Venezuela gets the next Grand Prix. Maybe we hit a street circuit in Caracas.
dude, that would be interesting to
Would
say
be,
the least.
it could be crazy. Okay, the draft.
Dude, Natty, so recapping this race, not a lot that happened, but this week's legends and losers. Natty, hit me with your legend of the week.
My legend of the week was Fernando Alonso. I loved seeing
Nando.
this senile old man just back up the pack. He was defensive. He was slow. Just because no one could pass him, he would just speed up at all the corners. It was like the most annoying version of
And
an
it's
F1 drive.
so Fernando.
It's just him. He's just like, I'm going to do what I want. Like, nobody can stop me. I'm Fernando Alonso, two-time world champion. He's not Russian. That was a bad accent. But dude, it was sick. Like, I think he's so funny, and him being on Aston Martin and just kind of doing whatever he wants. And yeah, he's just like good enough to back up the whole pack. So it was hilarious to see him driving so slow and being so in control, because you're like, what are you doing? And he's just not a care in the world. No one
He
can pass
knows
him.
he's not going to finish on the podium, so he's like, I'm just going to hold the place that I know I
No,
can win at and
he's
just
taking
back.
everyone down with him, and it's awesome.
Dude, it's so funny. And this is not the first time he has done that. He is quite notorious for doing this. And even seasons past, it's like he is the defense king. He will
Dude, it was
hold you
funny.
up for so long.
So funny. How about you? Legend of the week.
Dude, my legend of the week is the McLaren team because their pit stop was the only thing that made this race even interesting.
Oh, thank God for they really boosted the ratings, didn't they?
Like, I don't know if they're doing this intentionally for PR, but some of the stuff that they do, you're like, this is so dumb. And you are the best team by stats, but you're doing the dumbest crap.
Dude.
So they get my legend of the week. Loser of the week. Natty, who do you have for your loser of the week?
My loser of the week was the advertisement board that Nico Hulkenberg absolutely decimated and disintegrated as he careened through it, doing his pirouette. I think Nico heard me and was trying to do his mandatory 360, but in doing so, I can't remember what the advertisement was.
Dude,
He obliterated this like styrofoam
confetti
board.
everywhere.
It was it was like just absolutely annihilated. And that actually was part of the safety car, because there's just so much crap all over the road. But that poor advertisement got destroyed, annihilated. Who's
By
your
the
loser of the week?
Hulkenberg. My loser of the week is Alex Albon.
Ooh, poor guy.
Last week, DNF'd. This week, P11. Well, Carlos is putting on a masterclass in that Williams. Dude, and you have to imagine, Alex was a number one driver at Williams ever since he moved away from the Red Bull team and just kind of cut ties with Red Bull and kind of jumped on the Mercedes team-ish via Williams. And he's been the guy over there. And then here comes Carlos and just absolutely crushing it. But dude, he's just been so on form. I know a lot of people were talking about the 2026 season, Williams being a good car. And I
Yeah.
mean, you kind of have the guy. If they are a top tier team,
Bro, Carlos is
Carlos,
the dog.
he is so good. You love him. He's arguably one of the most attractive guys on the
So
grid too.
handsome. He's so handsome.
Just this handsome Spaniard
Dude,
that
why is everyone so handsome?
it's not fair.
Like,
It's not.
even George Russell, who's freaking Woody from Toy Story, like, he's even kind of handsome. But it feels like everyone is really handsome, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
Is that a
Aside from Yuki,
prerequisite?
but it must be. You just have to be absolutely perfect model material. Dude, and that sidetrack is F1 got devoured by social media and Twitter because they would show the wags, like wife and girlfriends,
Oh,
on
yeah, yeah.
camera so much, and it's
Yeah.
just like you see pictures of Formula 1 driver and their model girlfriend, you're like, "This isn't fair."
I know, it's crazy. I mean, like, it's kind of the same thing as, like, Taylor Swift and the Chiefs. Like, that's what
That's
it's
yes.
reminiscent of.
Yes, like every other, it's like, "Oh, look who's in the pit lane of Ferrari. It's so and so and so and so."
No,
And
it's
you're like, "Can we
crazy.
just watch the race, please?"
Yeah.
But
Well, and you're also just like, okay, here's Carlos Sainz's girlfriend. And you're like, that's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life. And then it's Lando Norris's girlfriend. It's like that's a fake person because she's so pretty. Like, it
and
doesn't
you
make any
just go
sense.
down the line.
You're like, what is going on? And then, yeah, meanwhile, dude, freaking, hey, another legend, Oscar Piastri. He's a normal looking dude. And it seems like he's dating like his high school sweetheart or something because she's just a normal looking girl. And I kind of love that. That I'm like, oh, yeah, like I would just see you guys out at like the supermarket and wouldn't think anything about it. You're just like an average looking couple. And I kind of love that.
Dude, so chill.
It's endearing.
Well,
He's one of us.
Natty, I have a new segment this week for us
Whoa.
that I've been keeping in the back pocket for you
Oh, this is news to me. Here we
because
go.
I wanted some initial reactions, no preparation,
Oh, God.
but we have some questions from the listeners.
No way.
So, do you want the serious ones first, or do you want the funny ones first?
Oh, mix them in. Give me whatever. Give me whatever.
Okay, I'll give you a good, legitimate question. This one comes from our listener, Ryan. So, Ryan asks, what is the feeder program for F1? And is there a feeder program, or how do you get to F1?
Yeah. So there's two answers to this. There is the standard answer and then the not so standard answer. The standard
I know where the
answer,
non standard answer is going.
the standard answer is you start as a little kid doing what's called karting, which is literally just driving go-karts. There's karting competitions all around the world, different countries, and you kind of like work your way up in the karting circuit. And then after karting, there's different levels of formula racing. There's also GT racing, but karting is like the start. So like people determine whether or not you're a good driver in karting initially, for the most part. Like there's so many old pictures of like Max and Lando and Alex Albon and all these like guys who are legends now. Like being little kids driving
Yeah.
race cars together.
Picture karting, what like your
It's like T-ball.
Yeah, like your T-ball league, travel hockey, travel baseball,
Yeah.
whatever your sport is. Like
Uh-huh.
in Europe, it's going to be like those 8U to 10U soccer kids that are getting called up to.
Totally. And then that goes to different levels of formula racing. So F3, F2, and then F1. The differences in that is how big the cars are, the power behind the cars, how many races you have, but it's essentially like a training ground or like minor leagues for Formula One. The difference is that you almost never see drivers from F1 dropping down. It's only a feeder program. So it's younger kids in F3 and younger kids in F2, and there's really only an upward trajectory. If you don't cut it, you typically go to like other sorts of racing. And if you get kicked out of F1, you also go to other kinds of racing like IndyCar or GT racing, NASCAR, etc.
I'd say it's closer to football in that way
Yeah.
is when you make it to F1, if you are no longer in F1, you're essentially on the
You're out.
practice team
Yeah.
if you're lucky for F1.
Yeah.
And if
Totally.
not, then
You're not going back to college.
yeah, it's like if you get knocked out of the NFL, you're going to the USFL or you're playing flag football or something, but you are gone.
Yeah. So that
Which is
is the
kind of
standard feeder
cutthroat.
route. The non-standard feeder route is to have Rich Daddy. And you have Rich Daddy, and Rich Daddy buys you team. And that team builds a car that's better than any other car because Daddy rich, and Daddy wants money, and Daddy wants son to do good at racing. So that's the
Natty,
other
who could
standard
you be
route.
talking about?
There's no one. There's no one on the grid that does that. That's not a thing. It doesn't exist.
Right.
There's no nepotism. The Stroll name is no, that has not happened. It's never happened. That's the second feeder route is you buy a team because your dad is a Canadian billionaire.
Yeah.
And your question of whether or not you're going to be racing for your team never comes up, even though you're the worst driver in F1 history.
Which I will say that's the unique part of Formula One in that way is like, I can't imagine like any owner in the NFL, NHL, name the sport that has a kid and they draft them on the team just because
Well,
it's their
dude, the
name.
closest thing that we have is Bronny.
That's fair. That's a
It's
great
LeBron James,
analogy.
but there still is some degree of equity with Bronny. Like Bronny has done okay in some games, and he gets dropped down to the G League. Like, so it's like no one's going to keep him on as a starting position if he's not scoring points. Like no one, even though the only reason why Bronny's at the Lakers is because of LeBron. It's the only reason.
100%.
There's no other reason.
Because if Bronny is drafted anywhere, they're also getting LeBron.
Yeah. So that's like the closest we can get, but it's crazy because like, yeah, if you were to be like, oh, I want to play NFL football, dad, buy me a football team. Jerry Jones's son gets put in to the NFL. He dies. He literally gets hit so hard that he is unalived. So
great
that's
answer.
That.
So this one comes from Jesse out in North Carolina.
Hey, Jesse. Thanks for listening, man.
A little longer form, but
okay,
bear with me.
Okay,
Jesse says,
Jesse.
Love what you guys are doing, how y'all break down F1. As someone who is interested in F1 but not fully invested in the world of it yet, I appreciate what you're doing. Shout out, Jesse. Thank you. Appreciate that.
What up?
Jesse's question. With that being said, what position did Brad Pitt finish in this season?
Yeah. Bradley Pitts did pretty good. So Jesse, here's the thing that I want to break down for you. Brad's the best to ever do it. You've seen the movie. You saw him take the reins. You saw him romance and swoon his race engineer. No one does that. No one does that. Only Brad.
Brad is the only one.
Bradley Pitts can do it. So to put that into context, because he betted his race engineer, he technically won, didn't he? Hey. No one else did that. So I'm saying first place for Brad.
All right. And then, Natty, last question this week comes from Dave. Dave asked, do drivers race in other sports like NASCAR or other racing that are Formula One drivers, or do they only race in Formula One?
Great question. Answer, yes, they do other things, but it's really hard. Most drivers don't have the capacity to race in multiple disciplines because sometimes their contracts don't allow it. Because F1 drivers get paid so much, their contracts might stipulate, hey, you're not allowed to do anything else. However, some drivers are so good and have the capacity to do so, like Max. Max, I believe, has done some GT racing this season.
Has not only done GT racing, but has won GT racing.
No, Max is crazy. Max is like actually just one of the best drivers. And the other thing that Max does and a lot of other drivers do is sim racing. So a lot of people don't really count that as real racing because it's happening on a computer, but Max also happens to be like one of the best sim racers out there, which basically means you're racing on a computer game, but a very, very, very nice version of a computer game.
Yeah, like one that gives you real life, like it's as close to racing as you possibly can get.
Yeah.
Without
You
being in the
crash,
car. Someone
punches you in the face. You run into the barrier, someone throws a brick at you. It's real. So, yeah, Dave, thanks for the question. It's a yes and no. Some people do race in multiple disciplines. It's always sick to see when that happens. Um, I think it's kind of like a proving ground. Like Max
Yeah.
asserts himself as like a really dominant racer.
Like, the
Um,
closest example that I can get to on this one, Natty, is Bo Jackson of doing football and baseball,
yeah.
but he's trash at baseball, where Max is legitimately, uh, the best driver in the world, period.
Yeah, yeah, because it's a good comparison in some ways because even though the concept is the same of like different type of driving, it in a lot of ways is like different sports, like rally car, like rally cross versus like desert racing versus GT racing versus NASCAR versus F1. The mechanics, how the cars work, how teams stack up against one another, the courses, the driving terrains, like everything is so different that a lot of these sports end up or a lot of these types of racing end up looking like a totally different sport. So it's like you're people who can cross over. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, but I think you nailed it on the head. It's some do it, but most don't. And it kind of goes back to our feeder league is most times when they're done in F1, they go to IndyCar racing or somewhere else to stay
Yeah,
racing.
yeah,
But when it comes to motorsport, F1 is the pinnacle of motorsport.
for sure.
And then I would say next to that is going to be GT racing,
Yeah.
which Max has dominated that already. So, but Dave, Jesse, Ryan, thank you for the questions. If you have not followed and subscribed to the F1 America podcast, do that. Leave us a review. If it's not 5 stars, jump off a cliff. But
Oh God. Oh no. Hey, if you have any questions, anyone who listens to this, if we have any more listeners, shoot us a question.
do it.
So we can talk about it. If you have suggestions, things you want to hear us talk about, hit us with it. We're an open book.
But until then, catch us on the final race of the season coming out soon. And until then, goodbye. Bye.